Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 57 of the Reptile Rejects podcast. So, this is part two of the Dave Levinson episode. We decided to split it up as it went a little long, so we thought we'd break it up. If you want to watch the whole thing, you can always watch it on YouTube. Reptile Rejects is proudly sponsored by Cornell's World. Cornell's World make some of the best cages in North America. They're one of the leaders in custom PVC cages and standard PVC cages. They can also make custom glass terrariums. They carry a wide range of reptile supplies from Spider Robotics to ReptiRad heat panels to Vivarium Electronics to ZoomEd, Arcadia, Exoterra, and any cleaning supplies you could need. Just order right now on cornellsworld.com and follow them at Cornell's World on Instagram and Facebook. Also, check out WCRE.ca, where you can purchase your tickets for upcoming WCRE events. The Western Canadian Reptile Expo is one of the biggest reptile expos in Canada. And yeah, we got the Medicine Hat Show coming up in late June. And then we got the Big Calgary Show in August. And I hope to see you guys there. You can pre-purchase your tickets online, and you can also book tables online too. So hopefully see you guys there. And enjoy the show with Dave Levinson, part two.
I'll be honest, I'm really bad at this whole thing because I don't ever pre-plan questions when I have people on. And then when I have like Bushfeld on and we talk about penises for 3 hours, not because he wanted to, because I forced him to, that's not preparing going into an episode. But there were a lot of things I would have liked to have talked about with him that I thought about, but we didn't cover house snakes the way they deserve to be covered. But no, like I said, I like him a little more random. But having a plan ahead of time is a good time. Like we were supposed to talk about boas. We're 116 minutes in. Other than me teaching you guys about sweet potatoes, we haven't talked about shit.
Yeah. Well, we can definitely go on.
Do you want to talk about boas?
Oh yeah, let's talk about boas, because I know that's like your that like Dave Levinson is a boa guy.
We can lock in.
I'm gonna put a cap on 10 minutes because I got to go to bed because I'm working at 5 a.m. So
I can see it in your eyes, buddy. No problem.
That's just me getting old.
All good.
All right, well, let's rapid fire for you. Let's put in a really solid 10 minutes of boas. You had some pre-planned questions. Let's start with one, and I'm gonna make it fast.
What's your favorite boa morph to work with right now?
That is the most beginner question. That's like a dating question. Like, what's my favorite color? VPI is the base for almost every project I work with right now, whether it's going the snow route or just simply breeding pastel genes into VPI T positives to make a better version every time. Even some animals I held back 5 years ago from red panther to red rum breeding that made these fantastic looking junglos. I now have some flamingo Aztec or flamingo high tech het VPIs I made. And I'm probably going to breed them together to see if I can blast more color in it. But I also talk about in boas, not all these pastels work together very well. I could actually make a worse looking animal even though both the parents are 10s. Some pastels just don't like other pastels.
All right, so next question. When it comes to morph and boas, are most of them incomplete dominance, or are there most of them recessive?
Perfect balance, in my opinion. Quite a few recessives, quite a few incomplete dominants. The only thing in bows, of course, when you make that dominant, a lot of times they're failed to thrive. Super Motleys fail to thrive. Super Jungles fail to thrive. Early on, Roswell Laddertails were failing to thrive. Some Key West are born dead when you make the Super Key West. Some are born alive and they absolutely thrive their entire life and become good breeders, but there can be a fallout with those supers. But then the leucistic, there's no problem. The crystal boa, there's no problem, which is the super labyrinth, super fires. But yeah, there are a lot of lethals. Super Aztecs are wobbly as heck. You can raise them up.
Is there a super scoria at all?
I don't know if anybody dares to do that because it's already an animal that comes with a wobble. I couldn't imagine breeding two of those together.
Yeah, probably another jag, kind of dead Lucy kind of thing, right?
Yeah, stonewash, jag, beautiful, whatever we're talking about. I know. So next one, 1 minute a question, guys. We're getting 10 fast ones in here.
What's your when you have a gravid boa? Is there a temperature you try to hit on the hotspot or ambient to kind of that you found is like ultimate for producing healthy litters with them?
I always really do focus on the hot spot because my ambient can be a little inconsistent certain months of the year. You know what it's like to be in a cold climate. Sometimes it feels like it really radiates through the walls. Um, 90 to 92 on a hot spot is usually just fine. But also with that same logic, if I've got a 90-degree or 94-degree hot spot and she doesn't want to go anywhere near it, I will dial it down to get her back on it when I know she's supposed to be on it. So, some things paying attention like that, but 90 to 92 I've felt like is my sweet spot.
Your turn, Dom.
You're putting me on the spot here. Boas. I don't even know what I want to say. Do you prefer breeding boas over pythons?
Well, boas are my passion species, man. Like, first thing that really got me in the hobby. The one thing that I probably obsessed over more than anything. Um, Definitely the most gratifying thing that I work with, but I love working a lot of stuff. The first time I ever had Ron St. Pierre on back on the Herb House Rock, I want to say that he said like in his career he had bred like over 200 species. Man, I would love a resume like that. There's a lot of things I'd love to work with, but back to my comment before, like, especially when it comes to designer animals, it's really tough to tackle 10 species and have an eye for every single species because, like I said, every species is treated differently on what the goal is in the end. Ball pythons are a little all over the place, but, I always talk about it. When clowns became popular, it was because of blade clowns, and everybody needed the most blade clown you could buy. Now that's disregarded because you want as much pad in your clown as possible so you can build on it. So, like I said, that's a little over the place, but yeah, I don't have an eye for everything, but that's, like I said, why I like focus on mutations because I'm going to work with 10 species. I want to really enjoy what I'm doing, and I want to actually try to move forward a little bit with each one. But I'll probably be more remembered for boa constrictors than anything else I work with.
And are you more of a designer when it comes to boas, stacking the genes and just picking the best 3-4 genes together, or are you do you keep some localities as well?
So, I procrastinated way too long because every year in my mind I was going to make enough money to go to Vin Russo and start buying a pair of everything or a trio of everything he had. And with Vin Russo losing his collection, there's a big part of me that may not pursue that now. I recently did take in some locality stuff, or I have a partnership with somebody on, so more your basic stuff, your Guyanas, your Surinames, your Argentines, your Brazilians, your Croquets, and I'm probably missing something in there, but so I will be doing locality stuff because I really do love locality stuff, but I never invested in it, and I probably won't like I planned on to.
Yeah, that definitely sucked because I remember that. I remember listening to your guys' pod with him, you, Warren, and him, and then it was like, what was it? A few days later, or was it like the week
It
later?
was the next morning, man. The fire was the same night he was on the podcast.
Oh shit! Yeah, fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was definitely shitty. So with the fire
Another thing, and I probably shouldn't bring it up, but I don't know if I'm bad luck. Maybe you shouldn't come on my podcast, but the week that Jeremy Stone was juggling ball pythons, I hit him up 3 days beforehand and tried to get him on my Friday episode, but he didn't respond. And then I think Saturday is when that video came out about him. So that'd have been like maybe something else
bad luck
connected.
for not going on your podcast then.
Maybe, man. But yeah, it's hard to say.
I remember that video. That was a whole shit show.
Yeah, that was a wild one because, again, like he's just one of those guys that, here's the thing, he did amazing work and still does work in the hobby. It's just not understanding like how things change. Where maybe something like that 10 years ago, 15 years ago actually may have flown in the hobby. maybe would have been laughed at a little more. The hobby is not in the same place it used to be in. Kind of like how people say you can never make Tropical Thunder 2. There was a time for that. You're never going to be able to do that ever again.
Still a great movie.
Great movie. Amazing movie.
Oh,
I might watch it tonight. It's such a good movie.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right.
With Fire Diamonds. Wait.
Oh.
Yeah. Do you see Fire Diamond?
Let's give this one to him. Okay, go.
do you see Fire Diamond as like a dead project, or in terms of like not like it's a white snake with some black freckling? Like, do you see it like anything being able to be done with it to enhance it, or is it just good how it is? A nice looking snake.
So, to date, the only thing that I've seen to enhance it that hasn't been as simple as a color change when putting albino into it is the ones that Del Bono shows off with Da Vinci boas, where he's got the leucistics that have IMG in it, and now the entire face is turning black and freckling out, and you're getting a little more freckles on the body. If there was a way to increase the freckling, that could be something, but like, I think the whole point of that is just to make a beautiful white snake, kind of like with Hognose, a beautiful white snake. You don't always need something more than that. So I think that project is kind of exactly what it is. Same argument with like the Sterling project. It was kind of tough with that one because it's a patternless project. So you're like, what can you do? I can manipulate the color, but there's nothing else I can ever do. And now people are breeding IMG into it and they have other projects they're pursuing. But, in a sense, you're working with a blank canvas and there's not a lot you can do with it other than changing the color.
Yeah, for sure. It almost seems like boas kind of like they had like their main morphs for the longest time, where it's just like, oh well, we got snows, we got moonglows, and we got albinos, and maybe some motleys and the Aztecs and stuff, and bloods obviously, and the Anathrestics. Okay, there's quite a few, but it's like that last 10, 15 years, I guess, when the IMGs and the labyrinths and kind of that stuff kind of hit the market, and I feel like IMGs really kind of enhance the whole boa market itself, like because IMG, VPI aneries, like those things look phenomenal. Even just IMG aneries and IMG motleys, like it's a black snake. Like it looks fantastic. You only really have to do that, and they'll probably sell all day long.
Melanistic skinks, Eastern indigos, like people like a jet black animal.
Black milks. I love my black milks.
Yeah, that's another project I always wanted to work with, but I didn't buy them when they were cheap, and I don't want to buy them when they're expensive, so I'm either going to have to wait for the right deal, or I may never have those things now. But no, yeah, there is, and the IMG too, like when I talk to anybody who's thinking about working with boas, I always say just make sure to have IMG on one side of your pairings every chance you get. IMGs are great for the pet market when you're making like a motley IMG that's going to turn black really, really fast. People love to see that color change. And when I have IMGs on my table and there's people coming by and talking to them, every single time I will pull up a picture of an adult where you just have an absolute beautiful rainbow iridescence kind of going over it, just like super shiny, super awesome. People obsess over that. And like I said, when Tony Antonucci started making like the IMG Aztec Jungle VPIs, still to that day, that's like one of the more iconic animals that is always going to stand out for me. And it then made people want to put more IMG into their VPI projects. So IMG is the best. Keep it on a T negatives. No offense to guys in it. It's cool, but like, black pigment usually turns white. And when you're doing T negatives, the IMG, in my opinion, is not always helping. I know in some cases there is some pastels that show through and they're kind of unique and sunglows. But I find a albino IMG a very, very hard sell when it comes to T negative.
Yeah, because it comes with an added price tag for. I guess I haven't really seen myself what like adult albino IMGs look like, but like the babies look a little nicer, almost like sunglow-ish, but not. But then but they do kind of dull out. I haven't seen a ton, but I have seen like one litter at a local show of kind of them, and it was nothing super special. Like they look kind of cool, but yeah, no, I kind of get what you mean there.
Hard selling point. I It used to be you put two things together, and based on the price of those jeans, you could have a crazy price on an animal. But, now it's, these animals have to look good to get that price point. There's too much variety in this hobby across every species to be overcharging on something when it made a really bad looking animal. So sometimes you got to price accordingly. And I hate to say it, I think back in the day, there were T negative albino IMGs that the whole litter would sell when it came to the non albinos. I'd sit on the albinos so long, I'd have to drop it down to an IMG price, or in some cases, even a little lower. To jump to ball pythons, like, when the Spider Monsoon was made, that might have been a $10,000 animal, but people only wanted to pay $5,000 for it. When I made Spider Sunsets when they were $5,000, people only wanted to give me $2,500 for it. Because in their eyes, half their litter would be worth less, half their clutch would be worth less money. So why would I pay full price for this? Because certain genes can drag down a project. And, again, I'm not shitting on T negative IMGs, but, when you put it on the table surrounded by all these other amazing boa combos, it's not very appealing to the eye until you either have a lot of pastel in there or you're doing sun glows. But even then, I find they sometimes grow out of their beauty over time.
Yeah, there's definitely genes that bring down value of certain animals. Like 100% agree. So my question was, when I look at boas, and I kind of see them as ball pythons in the fact that if I wanted to get into them, there are no, I didn't actually mean that as an insult. I actually like the look of boas and all that. Ball pythons, the shows and the amount of them have kind of killed my love for them. But boas, what I meant by that is that the boas have so many morphs now that it's kind of like if I wanted to be a ball python guy, having to learn all the morphs would take me forever. And I find like that the boas is almost overwhelming too because there are so many morphs. So my question going into that is not necessarily the most expensive, but what is the best morph combo? Like if you had to take 3 or 4 together, you could either go with high end, but more the pet grade at a reasonable price. What would you say is the best, better looking
Um,
combo?
really striped jungles back in the day, even just for the pet market, I thought were really awesome. Which now that Labyrinth has come down in price, the Labyrinth pattern is just so consistently stripy and unique. I think that animal when it gets to like $300 to $500, which I think in some cases it may already be that low. I think I got to pay a little bit more attention to the market, but like that's something when it comes to a pattern mutation that passes on easy. IMGs, I think I've seen IMGs anywhere from $400 to $800, where that does sound like an expensive pet. In this current market, I don't think that's expensive because I sold them for $1,000 for years to the pet market. So IMG for sure. Um, but I think the snow projects right now for the VPI, whether you're going the black-eyed aneurystic route or you're going just the type 1 anery, I think some of those animals are some of the most beautiful on the hobby, even though you're lacking color. Um, Shout out Low Key Boas. I'm sure he's popped up on your algorithm, even though you might not want him there. Like his videos are awesome, his animals are beautiful. He does a lot of stuff out of Europe where they're just putting a lot of really great pastel lineage and stuff. Um, it's kind of an all over the place answer, man, but like, there really is so many different directions you could still take boas and be very successful. And, basically boas made the Blizzard boa, which was put in it's the RDR, the Ralph Davis line, black-eyed aneurystic, into his sharp stuff and his call stuff. And he made these completely white animals with just ruby eyes. And then he did the Black Devil, which was the black-eyed anery IMG, and that thing was absolutely stunning. And now in the hobby, everybody is chasing putting that in the Carbon Project also into your VPIs to just make a very different looking snow in a very positive way. And the cool thing about that is the RDR was 20 plus years ago. Like, I think that was like a 90s mutation that came in the hobby. And up until like the last 5 years was truly underappreciated. And now, in my opinion, really has a stranglehold on the high-end market for the snow project. Now that there's so many people just doing type 1 anery snows, and those prices have come down because of it, that's like that one place where we can, I hate using to do it all over again, but with this line. But to do it all over again with that one is going to make a different looking snow in a positive way. That was a very long because then also in bows right now, double, triple, double recessives, habaneros, the leopard albino, T positive albino stuff.
Oh yeah,
really
leopards.
really cool.
I'm not even sure if I've really seen too many T positive leopards. Maybe, I guess I'm just thinking of stuff that I haven't even seen. Like now, you got me thinking of what would IMG, VPI, Labyrinth, and like other stuff look like all together. Like now it's having me think about like has anybody made Labyrinth IMGs? Like I assume they have by now.
So Labyrinth IMGs, yes. Labyrinth Leopard IMGs, yes. Labyrinth Leopard Hypo IMGs with maybe a something else in there. There are so the European market, man, or the overseas market is really, really good for boas. The same way it was really, really good for leopard geckos. They only bought our best for years because they had to pay so much money to get these animals over there. And then they only bred the best for the last 20 plus years. And those guys over there have actually gone a lot further with making double and triple heads for stuff and even quad heads for stuff, where people over here didn't really go that route. If you paid any attention to the ball python market over the last 5 or 6 years, and if you treated the boa market the same way the previous 5, you would essentially be where you're at right now in boas. Like, we took a long time to get to this point of chasing triple, quad, head, so on and so forth that, we fell behind. And Europe did not. They moved forward. And a lot of those animals that are making the quality animals here, you guys probably saw the leopard VPI snows videos. I think low-key did the one where it had like paradox spots on it. That animal is unbelievable. Even the non-paradox one, I believe those hets came from Europe. We didn't even think about doing that here yet. So it's weird the way the boa community works because I've had all these ingredients myself over the last 20 years and I didn't utilize them or I just didn't see forward enough, in my opinion. I was always trying to refine what I was doing and make a better looking pastel boa and then an even better looking pastel and just kind of making more color. And I was really driven that way. I wish I would have made more double and triple head stuff because I've always been able to. I never thought about it. And then by the time I could have, everybody else is doing it. I'm probably just going to buy some animals from somebody else.
Yeah, for sure. Dom, do you want to go to bed and me and Dave keep going?
I was going to actually offer that to you guys. If you guys want to keep chatting, man, keep going. If you want to go for another hour, I will let you guys chat, but I got to work in a few hours. Dave, I'm going to say a huge thank you for coming on and chatting it up. I'll let you chat it up with Mike, and you guys can close that out in a little bit.
But, well, hopefully we'll do it again sometime, guys. I love follow-up episodes, so don't forget about me.
Oh yeah, no, Dave, we can keep talking. I want to.
Oh, I know we're gonna keep going. That was more towards him, but
for sure. Yeah, no, we definitely need you on, or you could even have Dom on to talk Canadian Morelia too. That'd be cool.
I would just love to hear it. I don't know if this is a good or sore subject, but when Star Python came to the United States, like I went to all the first shows with them, went to Pomona with them because my buddy Josh was helping out. And man, we talked a lot of carpets for about a year and a half there, but never worked with the species, but I've always appreciated them.
Oh yeah. Well, that's how he got his diamonds.
They are from there. Well, one of them. All right. Have a good night, gents.
Have a good one.
Later, bud.
Yeah, no, the boa stuff. Oh, William's in the house.
Oh.
William just shows up just in time.
All right. We are talking Philippek, right?
Yeah. I just popped him up on the screen there. Yeah.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah, no.
You should send him a link and tell him to jump in and talk for a little bit, man. I love talking to Will. That's a lot of work, but just saying, maybe next time.
Yeah, no, we definitely need to do another episode. I remember the first 20 or 30 minutes, we talked about African rock pythons.
I like that. I tell William all the time, and I finally got a chance to go see his facility that he bought or built on his property. Amazing. it's really nice when you've been in the hobby for a while and you see how everybody else does it. And like I said, everybody stepped up their game over the last 5 years. I think all of us looking at Quebecca's facility over like the last decade has made us all say we can be better and do better. And even like, Robin Macklin went over to Bob Vu's house, and when he got done looking, he's like, that was the most immaculate collection I've ever seen. So clean. Everything's perfect. Um, when you go into his place, everything's white. Everything that could be overhead to be like the hoses, everything's awesome. And, I love his collection. He's got everything that I want to work with someday. I'll pony up and buy some stuff eventually. Probably ring pythons first, I think. I'd really love to raise up some ring pythons.
Oh yeah, rings are awesome. Well, actually, speaking about ring pythons, I traded Cody Joe up here for a pair because I bred Kentucky pines, so I traded him a pair of Kentuckys plus some cash for rings. Kept them for 5 6 months. Like I enjoyed keeping them, but now that I've moved and I gotta keep what's gonna make sense. So Dom's been kind of wanting ring pythons, so I traded him ring pythons for some gelatin jungles, and I'm gonna get some other stuff later in the year once they kind of hatch out. So
That's
no.
tight.
But yeah, no, the rings are cool. Like they're fun, but they're a colubrid basically. Like in terms of their whole metabolism and how they act, like it's like keeping a king snake almost. It's the best way I could describe them. Actually, Lisa had a good analogy of they're almost like they're imitating like Bungaras, right? Like the crates is almost how they're imitating in terms of just how they're kind of twitchy and then they kind of ass up and stuff. They're fun. I would definitely keep them again. Like they're cool.
Yeah, I think even Don Patterson has made some very unique Baron pattern ones in the past.
That was Cody Joe out of that clutch. So one of those babies, he like a patternless, completely patternless. It's almost like a mixed pattern, right? Like it's not actually bright orange. Like it was like the black and orange kind of molded, and that baby is apparently doing pretty good, I think. So he's raising that guy.
Interesting.
Up. Yeah, no.
So is that going to look extra ship brown as an adult? Now
Probably.
There's no contrast to black? Yeah.
I would assume so. But it's still kind of neat.
Yeah. No, hey, I'm all about it, man. Hey, I say it all the time. We sell babies for a living. Doesn't always matter. The adults look good.
Yeah, and they are ring pythons, and they do look good as babies, right? So, yeah.
So hot, man. So hot. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
When I own ring pythons, I will edit the images when it gets bigger for the sake of the community. I'll make them look orange their whole life.
Oh yeah, creamsicle orange and black. You gotta do that, William.
Yeah, step it up, man. Step it up. But yeah, back to William stuff. Like you said, really good variety in animals. He's done it the right way. He's bought from the right people. I'm actually a little jealous of how he obsesses over the hobby because it reminds me of me like in my 20s and 30s the way I obsessed, taking in all the information I can, watching every video I could possibly watch. I don't hit it like I used to, man. And maybe it's because I'm having these conversations every week, but every Wednesday watch snake bites, every morning checking any videos if Ralph Davis posted, and back then there was a lot less content, of course. Now, holy fuck, there's a lot of content in this industry between podcasts and just videos. But yeah, William hits it all, man. William knows what's going on in every podcast, doesn't skip a beat. I like that. It's one reason I also enjoy having the conversation on the podcast with William, because he knows what the fuck's going on when I don't know what the fuck's going on sometimes.
Oh yeah, for sure. I like to think I do, and I used to a little better. Now, with MJ having 8 different shows, and then I always keep up on the other guys, but then sometimes because MJ's has I don't really listen to the ball python shows, but I'll listen to the others kind of thing. But now it's kind of hard to fit in all the podcasts that I'm not listening to podcasts all day long at work kind of thing. I used to be able to intake everything, but then it was during COVID where you're able to suck everything up, and now my brain's just full. So it kind of goes in one ear and out the other.
Yep, I'm the same way, man. It's filling up, and I hate that there's so much wasted space in there, man. There's so much shit I remember that I really wish I could put something else in its place. But no, what do you want to talk about, man? talk about
Why
anything.
don't we talk about shows? Because I love how
Shows.
you have that sales, like, not obviously they're living things, but then a part of the show is connecting with the buyers that are going to spend their money somewhere at the show. So you might as well
Yeah.
make that good impression on them when they're coming to your table. What are is there like a, like, because I know I've heard you talk about it, so I actually try to do it too, because I help Tyrone at his table, or Greg if Ty doesn't need my help, kind of thing. But I always try to make conversation with people, and even if they're probably just looking, try to just ask how they're doing, kind of thing, because you never know, it might spark somebody else around that's looking, kind of thing. Or
No.
when you see they're zeroed in on an animal and you're like, I see you're back for that one.
Um. Well, I guess and man, I could give you. We can go so many directions with advice, but right away advice is feel the vibe, man. Like if you go to somebody standing in front of your table and you try to engage them and they just don't seem interested, leave that person alone. Let them do them. Everybody's different at the shows. When they're ready to engage, if there's something they want, they will engage. I always like to, like, even if I just slide over and say, hey, if you need anything, just let me know. I'm going to be kind of going back and forth. Just open up a little, window for them to talk to you if you want, but don't scare people away from your table with your personality. I scare people away from my table sometimes, and I have an okay personality. But feel out the person. Every sale is going to be different based on the personality of the guy you're talking to or girl. Like like I said, you just got to feel the vibes, man. Don't force anything, and being honest is not like you don't have to lie to be a good salesman. You can be a very honest, good salesman. And when you're talking about selling something that's a living animal, like, I always bring up used cars, but like, we're not selling used cars. We might all have been used car salesmen once before, but we are not selling used cars. So, definitely approach it differently, and, different species, the conversation's going to be different. The conversation you have with somebody about pets is very different than somebody who might hope to breed someday. Like a pet owner doesn't want to hear you reminisce about how that mutation started in some guy's collection 25 years ago. Like they don't need that backstory. I may make them listen to me sometimes, but they don't need to hear it. So, like I said, and it's something that I think over time, you kind of just, you got to customize what works for you when it comes to talking to people. Lean into it. Like, sometimes it's better just to listen. Sometimes it's better just to let them do talking. Have them ask questions and, just be very thorough about your answer. And, I go back to truthful. You know, there's people in the business that bullshit and they make a lot of money bullshitting. And then there's some people that really truly connect to their buyer. And, when I sell a blue tongue skink, like I said, that's a person who's going to buy a pet that has a very diverse diet that could be set up a lot of different ways. Like, that is a very different conversation than a first time baby ball python buyer. Like I said, it's got to find out what works for you. But, engage, don't be pushy. Give people a little bit of freedom at your table. And, sometimes if people want to talk, like I said, I'll talk sports with them. I'll talk whatever. I'm going to have a conversation that's going to keep them around a little bit longer. But again, not to the point where I'm annoying them and forcing them to stand there in that moment. Like, I want them to actually want to be there in that moment. And again, sometimes shutting the fuck up is letting them be there in that moment. But, shows, man, like, even like I did a little 1-day show this past weekend, 2.5 hours from my house, little town called Farmington, Missouri. Never did the show before. I get there, it's on like a basketball court, really small gymnasium, and they got a lot of people through the door. Like there was points of the show where I had 4 tables and there was not a gap for somebody to move in to look at an animal. Now, in those cases, how do you manage that? Like, how am I going to keep all these people here as long as possible without blocking people? Like, if I have 2 people that want to buy at the same time, am I going to put this animal in this person's hand while running over to that person to talk to him about a couple questions? running back to them and asking them how they feel about the animal kind of thing. Like when you're a one man show, especially on four tables, it can be very, very hard. A lot of people think I'm crazy when I do four tables by myself, but I find a balance. And like I said, it's putting time into people you should be putting time into, not time into other people that really don't even want your time in the first place. And, just having honest conversations. And like I said, I give advice to people as if I was giving myself advice. I want people to be successful in this industry. Fail on your own. I'm not going to make that on me. So, like I said, whether it's how to take care of your pet or how to maybe start a little breeding group to be successful, just give them a fighting chance, man.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I usually try to like it's more when it's actually slow out or kind of thing, right? Like when there's a ton of people at the table and like if people aren't really buying right then I might do the like not necessarily everybody, but like you shoot the hey, let me know if you need anything because you never know somebody around
Yeah.
might be thinking it. But yeah, I usually try to gauge that. Like I'm not gonna you say that or how are you doing today? How are you guys doing today? Kind of thing, and then obviously you can see from there if they start talking to you about something, then you obviously engage from there. But I
Well,
find, but like we're lucky because we got was it Ty's there, and then his kids there, and then sometimes we even have a fourth person there. But then we sometimes have 4 or 5 sales at the same time because we got the rodent freezers behind us for the local shows. So we're doing rodents
mhm.
plus the animals. So then it gets a little hectic because we're opening up freezers and doing stuff. But yeah, I having 4 tables and one person that is definitely a handful. I could think.
It's different. And other tips I've given before too, like if the animals, we're gonna just say ball pythons. If I have a ball python or a ball python I believe is going to go to the pet market, I'm probably not going to put certain ones in the display case. People do not walk by a display case looking for a $60 animal. When people see display cases and see a few big numbers, a lot of times they glance very fast and they may miss a lower end animal that's actually meant for that part of the market. So when I do my display cases, it either has to be a super, super colorful pet that I'm willing to put in there, or it's going to have to be something high end I don't want walking off my table. But everything typically $100 or lower, I like to have in deli cups because people that are looking for pets pay a little more attention to deli cups sometimes, I find, because they just expect a cheaper animal to be in a deli cup over a display case.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that's actually what we like. I think Ty used to use the ARS display cases. I actually still have one. I've never actually had to use it because I've never really vended on my own before. So we'll see if that ever actually happens or not. It would be cool. Like it'd be because I would eventually I would actually have enough variety. Right? It got this year. I got Kentucky pines for the third year in a row. Black pines for the first time.
Cool.
Bahamas, I don't know. I'm probably going to keep them all for a year just to see how they develop. So I might send some to Cody Joe or just to make sure there's some other in the country because this is these were imported from Jeff Murray like 10 years ago, and Cody Joe has the other pair of the same line because
Mhm.
the other line bred once. I have one of the 2 babies that survived from it because they're anole feeders, right? They're like Dominicans, except even I think a little smaller as babies, but they're like a gray kind of cooler pattern Dominican because you got some that are like really light and others that are darker depending on the lineage. But yeah, no, they're
Yeah.
sidetracking myself. But then I got a bunch of yellow spotted newts too, which would be pretty cool, and they're that twice as much as what Spanish ribs would kind of be, right? They're that 150 $200 newt that looks really cool, but is still just as easy to keep. You can keep them fully aquatic. I just don't know how well they would actually do at shows because, right, it's one of those things that it's like, well, you should kind of have your fish tank set up, even though they are pretty easy. Like they seem more like a fish store slash reptile store animal rather than a show one. Even though Jay Sommers, I think, does well with him when he did bring him to the Super Show in that because he did those guys and the Kaiserai. It's that same
Mhm.
kind of genus as them. So yeah, I don't know. I've kind of in my head, I'm like, I'm happy if everything just goes wholesale. but worst case. But I guess back to the show stuff. Off track already. But yeah,
Yeah,
no, like we
you're
just do
fine.
delis at the show now. We've just switched to full delis because you can fit more delis on the table than you can display cases.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, like I said, my shows are always a mix, and even like with colubrids, I had some red Zepp albino corn snakes on the table, and I had some in the delis, and then I had two in the main display case, and the two in the display case kept on selling, and I kept on taking the ones out of the delis and putting it in the display case, and they kept on selling at this show. But when they were over there, people weren't buying them, so there was just something about that, and even like palmettos, same thing with palmetto corns. I always want them in the display case. They sell better in a display case for me. But to Sarah's and some more simple stuff over there, they sell the deli cup a lot better. But some stuff it's not always consistent, but you start noticing these little things when you start doing a lot of shows. And man, I really love the shows, but I always talk about it. I hate all the liabilities of going to the show. Um, we've had a very closed collection for the last like year and a half, and because of that, we haven't really run into any issues, haven't had any problems. Um, Man, when you start doing a lot of shows again, I'm always freaked out about mites. Like it's always in the back of my head.
Yeah, that would be my biggest fear kind of thing is the whole mite thing in that, right? So it's definitely, yeah. Those mites
Yeah,
or whatever else you could bring back, you know?
yeah, and I made that comment before about like keeping people at your table and maybe putting an animal in their hands. Man, we almost do like no handling at the shows anymore. Um, if you're gonna buy the animal, we'll take it out for you to handle, but a lot of times I'm asking if I could take it out for them, show them the animal, compared to putting it in their hands. Like I explained to them about cross contamination, like everything like that. And most people are understanding. The people that are not understanding are the people that didn't even want to buy it anyways. They just wanted to see if they can hold an animal. But I always say it the same way. And I do it in a way where like, hey, I really want to be able to sell a healthy animal to everybody I sell to. And if I let everybody hold your animal before you buy it, I can't guarantee it's perfect anymore. So, if you are looking to get it, I'm happy to take it out and take that step. But, if it's going to add risk or harm to, or, just me a little paranoid, I just would rather not. And people are always extremely understanding when you say it that way. Because, it's not like I'm being mean. It's, I'm looking out for the well-being of the animal and the well-being of you if you want to buy an animal from me. So yeah, like I said, there's ways to break it to people. But I will say when you say that to a little kid, they don't understand. You got to really shorten that answer, and it's always the same thing. It's kind of a scary environment. They've been a little stressed out, so we're kind of letting them be, and the kids are always very understanding. But yeah,
Yeah.
I've tried to explain cross contamination to like a 7-year old one time. I don't think they understood what I was trying to say. I think they're actually kind of offended.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think most of the shows up here, we've kind of like, even the show promoters have kind of like don't handle unless like you really need to, and even then like we kind of just try to like if they want to see like if it had what its temperament is like or something, like we can hold it over the table, but we try to not have anybody else hold it. Like maybe if it's like if you can tell that like they're gonna buy it kind of thing, then like I might just like let them even kind of touch it, but like only like I feel like it's just gonna seal the deal kind of thing on it, or even just like try to limit even taking them out anyways, but like showing them that hey look it looks cool, you can see it's all good, it's not biting me, right? Like that kind of thing. I find that
Yeah. No, there's a easy way to let everybody down without offending them, and there's also, like I said, it's really easy to feel people out. But like I said, if you don't want people over handling, just explain to them it's all about the well-being of the animal. And honestly, I think it's the best way to handle it. You really understand how the person feels after that, if they were even a customer in the first place. And even like with the skinks, I don't want it to shoot out of somebody's hand. I would rather handle a younger animal and just explain to them how to handle them so the animal's comfortable, how to keep the legs steady, how to hold them at, let's say, like this degree of an angle, which looks wrong right now because my shit's all tilted in half. But it's like I said, I just being really informative, man. with all this stuff. And even like with boas, man, like I explain to people about how the tip of the tail is going to wrap around my finger and it's going to feel a lot safer that way. It's not going to shoot around in my hand. It's not going to feel uncomfortable. And, people want to hear that kind of stuff. They want to go into something comfortable. And when it comes to a pet, um, you got to make people feel really comfortable about what they're buying.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So is your guys' boa market kind of going down, or you? Well, you said that your boa market was really good. I find ours. I don't know. It's hard to say. There's Big D here, Dan. I can't pronounce his last name. It's kind of hard to pronounce. But like he does some like really high end stuff, like he boas and ball pythons, and he seems to do pretty well with them. But it's hard to say. Like I feel like even the other stuff that was moving is now not. But then there's even guys up here still messing around with scoria, and now they're dumping them for $300.
Uh, well, scoria in Canada is the only reason we really have scoria.
Yeah,
Most people in the United States weren't working with it. I can't remember the breeder's name that was successful with
it
them
was
years
Henry.
ago. It was was it? All right. And I do know that there was still a little suspicion around females back then, so you can get a little better price on a female than a male. But no, that project pretty much completely fell off until he started sending animals to the United States. There was a bunch of my friends that bought them around that time. I always talk about it. Brandon Nixon got a female scoria to breed for him a few years after they started coming in, which actually helped that market. It gave people confidence in the females. Um, I don't think. I think the market can be bad to people, but I think it's people that are a little more set in their ways. Um, I think you always have to adapt to different economies and, approach your sales differently based on what's going on around you. Sometimes you got to hustle a little harder. Sometimes you got to figure out a way to hustle a little harder. I sell out of animals every single year. And, again, I'm going to say it. You've heard me say this. My goal every year is to produce enough of a species that by the time next season my first one is born, I am sold out of that species. If the next year comes around and I still have a lot of these animals left and I'm producing more, I am probably overproducing with that animal for what my market really is, and I need to adjust to that. So I think the boa market actually is still doing really great. I think a lot of markets, in my opinion, are doing really great. I do think that people's standards are definitely a lot higher now. Even when we talk about ball pythons, like not everything's a ten or $20,000 ball python like it once was. Now you really got to capture somebody. Like it's got to be something special because we've got everything in ball pythons. So it can't be little tweaks anymore. But no, I think the market's okay. I produced 150 for a boas last year, I want to say, and I'm down to 4 boas. So that was a boa sale about every other day, and some of my biggest sales last year were boa sales, times 5 or 6 of what I get on a lot of ball pythons I sell. But again, passion also, go back to sales. Passion sells, man. Like, I talk about boas very differently than I talk about ball pythons when I talk about the way you work the mutations. I really believe when you sell boas, a lot of times you're just selling the passion for the species.
Yeah, for sure. Like I think I don't know. Like I feel like I've seen guys where it's the species they like, but then they're like always they don't seem to sell them too well, and it's like, well, you're not really you need to really sell that passion in it. Like if it's a project you really like, you really need to work with it and sell it and kind of help pioneer it. And if there really isn't a market or the market seems kind of dead, maybe try to come up with some YouTube videos or something and some sort of thing and drum it up, or even I don't know. There's many ways that people can go about really kind of creating just that little bit of putting them in a better light kind of thing or something, even if they are moving slow. I don't know.
Going back to Barchek, skinks were in this country for over 20 years, and then Brian started talking about him, and man, his passion for it made that explode. So yeah, that kind of stuff can change things a lot. When I talk skinks with people a lot, I bring up Emily with Snake Discovery. She has some skinks. She breeds a couple. Could do to the market what Brian did. Like, she could make children see how wonderful the species is, and we could see a rush of younger kids wanting to have them as pets, even teenagers. So, the right person that actually has some real pull on social media can actually help a species, but we don't all have pull. Like, there's a few people that can affect the market, but not everybody has the pull like an Emily or a Brian did.
Yeah, that is also true, right? But then I don't know. I feel like some people underestimate what they can do as well. Like when they already have like not like a huge base, but a base, and they could put a bit of effort into something, or I don't know. I feel like there's always, I guess everybody can improve in certain ways with how they could like you don't post a ton, but when you do post, you post like really good pictures of your boas and that, right? Like so like that helps.
Do I post?
Well,
When did you ever see me post a boa?
I don't know. There was the one I used for the podcast thing when I
I'll,
posted it
I'll,
on the
I'll go.
story.
I'll have to take a look at that. I don't know if I noticed that one, or you're gonna have to send me a screenshot of that.
I think it was on Instagram. I'm not
Yeah,
sure if you use Instagram. I assume it's just
uh,
tied to your Facebook.
it's probably just tied to my Facebook. And yeah, there was a time I probably did post. I'd say in the last like 2 years, I've been really bad about posting. In the last 2 years, I think I've only actually made a few posts. You know, now that we're messaging each other on Facebook, I'll start sending you random images. I probably take 20 or 30 pictures a day some days, and I just don't ever post any of them for some reason. But I should be better. But like I said, I found a way to sell out every year without putting that effort into the hobby. Um, but I should probably show off what we're doing more because we're doing a lot, and I am really proud of a lot of stuff we're doing over here right now. I love the diversity that we're working with, that we're actually successful with a lot of species. Um, I should probably take more pride in it and show it off to more people.
Yeah. You never know, right? Like it could just add a couple more sales kind of thing with people. Oh, fuck, you got that kind of thing, right? I don't know. That's all I think
Yeah.
about, but then I don't really have anything to sell and I don't even post that much either.
Yeah,
and I
I'll send you tons of boa pictures when we're done with this. But yeah, no, the girlfriend post on her page, and that does get a little traction. But we really probably need to put more work into our business page this year. Just because, like I said, it's gonna be cool to seeing all the cool things we're hatching out and everything we're working with. And a lot of people do send love on Morph Market. I've never read the comments on any of the videos I've ever done. Like, I've never really paid attention. I think one time NJ sent me a screenshot where someone said that I was a huge contributor to the LGBTQ community, but I don't know exactly what they meant by that. But that's like maybe one of the only comments. And then also on, we talked about Expert and the Idiot. He sent me a screenshot. One of my only uncles left was trying to get a hold of me, and he commented on one of those videos, and that screenshot made it back to me. So we reconnected. But no, I don't ever read anything, ever. Like, never, ever, 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 ever I read anything.
yeah, that's probably a good thing.
Yeah, it keeps my outlook on life a lot more positive because I talk about it. I remember the 3 or 4 bad comments I've had online that just were like so out of place. And I live in those comments because I've never read any of the other ones now.
yeah, for sure. So maybe one last question, I guess, with shows. Like, what makes you choose a show? Do you just like try to fill up as many weekends as you can to go, or do you try to choose shows in different
Uh,
areas, maybe, or what's your thought process?
so I'm very lucky that I have good relationships with a lot of the promoters in the States that I'd like to go to shows for, to where they allow me to be real last minute sometimes. Um, I should plan ahead more, but like, there's so many shows in the United States, and there's so many variables of what could make that show good or bad. And I don't always know that variable till last minute. I went to Houston one time when there was tornadoes. Not a great show. Like, maybe should have canceled if I looked at the weather leading up to it. Um, I've gone to certain shows like when I lived in the Northeast. Man, I mean, you know what it's like when it's icy out, when there's a lot of snow on the ground. Like, not everybody's going to leave their house to come buy a reptile. Like, sometimes you got to know when not to do certain shows. So, like, in the wintertime, I'm trying to push a little further south. I want to be Tennessee, Georgia, Texas. In the summertime, I'll go back to Colorado. But, like, I came back from a Salt Lake City show one time in like April, and I hit a blizzard leaving, and a 19-hour ride turned into a 33-hour ride because I kept having to pull over because I was so scared I was going to go off the road with all the animals in the car. Um, but I look at little details sometimes. Like if I've got 4 shows I can pick from that are all, let's say, within 8 hours of me, because I'll drive 10 to 12 hours to a show, even if there's a show an hour from my house. If I think there's more potential in Colorado, I'm going to go to Colorado that weekend. Like next weekend, we have our St. Louis show, 2.5 hours from me. I'm driving 19 hours to Scottsdale, Arizona. It's going to cost a little more money to get out there, but I just think that show has a ton of potential. I want to be there. Also, I'll look into the local economy. Um, I'll see if there's what the unemployment rates are like in certain areas. I'll look at what average household income makes in certain areas. I'll look to see if there's any sporting events going on in certain areas. When I'm in the Southeast, I'm worried about like college events. Some of the northern states in certain cities, I might be worried about an NFL game. I don't pay any mind to baseball. That fucking season's too long. I'm not paying attention to that. But I'm going to see if there maybe could be a variable in the area that could throw things off. And like I said, I'm going to Scottsdale this weekend. That's the All Plant Expo, or All Reptile Plant, All American. I'm sorry, All American. Um, he did a show in Nashville, and I don't mean to say this in a bad way, but we got there and the whole building was wrapped by a flea market. So that was taking up a lot of real estate in the area. And then in the same fairgrounds, there was it was like an Asian festival, everything Japanese, Chinese, Korean, all kinds of foods, all kinds of stuff going on. Tons of people over there. It was a very slow show because of what we had going on around us. Parking was very hard. Sometimes I'll avoid a show that has like $20 parking downtown. Like there was a Louisville, Kentucky show. You know, it just became bad because I think people didn't want to pay $20 for parking, which meant not a lot of people showed up. But people willing to spend $20 who showed up were probably going to buy something. But that definitely brought attendance down at that show, which took a lot of possible customers away from me. Um, you can overthink a lot of this stuff. I mean, some people stay very loyal to a brand and only do that show series and won't touch anything else. I've got about 4 or 5 different promoters, probably more than that, that I always jump around to different shows. I'll stick with a show as long as somebody will stick with me. If I have a bad experience with one of your shows, or maybe I'm not happy with the way the management was, maybe there was something that like was said between the two of us that I wasn't a fan of, I'll drop a show real fast and never go back again. I've done it in the past, but where it was kind of a bad business decision when I look back at certain shows that they had that I did do really well at. For the principle of things, I just stopped all their shows. But no, you never really know, man. I have a lot of faith in small shows, which is a luxury in the United States because, again, we have a lot of shows. Sometimes, like right now, you know, I have what I have left to sell right now is a lot of what I produced last year and maybe a few off-season things. So all my primo stuff is sold. So now I'm down to what is left. And there's a certain show I'd rather do over other shows because I know certain things I have will get really lost in the crowd in a big show right now. So I would rather squeeze out a lot of small shows. But even these small shows, I'll sell 20, 30 animals a show. And at a really good small show, I'll sell upwards of 50 to 70 animals a show. And that's maybe a show that has like around 100 tables or less, maybe a 20, 30 vendor show. Like I said, I'm always looking at a variable that could make for a bad weekend. Because I want to think I really put an effort in when I have so many options every weekend. And I always talk about it like one of the best shows in my top 5 that like I made five figures at was Knoxville, Tennessee, in a VFW gymnasium with 40 tables in it. But that same weekend, there was a brand new show in Atlanta. A lot of vendors went down there. There was a brand new show in Myrtle Beach, pulled more of the Southeast North Carolina guys that way. When I knew everybody I knew were going to those two shows and nobody was going to the other show, I went there and I killed it. I had 4 tables when I started. I had to start taking tablecloths off and removing tables because I sold every animal that was on the table. And in the end of the show, I had less than 2 tables worth of animals left. But you could take chances on those small shows sometimes, and it could be a real bust. I don't always make the right decision, but when a weekend's over, I used to have a notepad and I would write down all the variables that happened that weekend that I thought might have affected my sales. Whether, even like I said, weather, sporting events, something going on in the area. Yeah. And then I always talk about it after May is over. I may only do one show a month, and I also might not leave my state that much anymore. I might grind it out more locally. I might focus a lot more on online sales because in the summertime, people stop going to shows and they start going on vacations and they start putting all their money into that stuff until the fall rolls around and they're trapped in their house again, and then they start putting it into their hobbies again. So I know when I do a summer show, my sales will be half of what I make in the spring and fall, winter. So June, July, August, September, I'm not doing a lot of shows. Come October, Tinley kind of gets things rolling again. And then about a month after that, after you get past Thanksgiving, I find there's a little bit to be made before Christmas. And then after Christmas, some people have a little new money in that they got for the holidays. And I find that sales pick up at that point and stay very steady till like May. You got to work around tax return time. You got to make sure you're at those, you really got to take advantage of March and April. People started getting their tax returns back a lot earlier, to where April used to be my best month. March has really been my best month the last few years.
Yeah, no, that's all. It's all good stuff to think about because, here we don't have as many options though. It's kind of like we got the BC show that was this weekend. There's another. I don't know. I won't even talk about the other shows that go on there.
So
But
I used to love King Snake when you can go on there and it had every single show on there, and I'd have to go to everybody's website.
yeah,
It's kind of a shout out to my buddy, but my buddy Steve Beamer started allreptileshows.com now, and every week more promoters are putting their shows on there. Man, does that make my life so much easier. I would have been somewhere else yesterday if I wasn't on that website seeing all my other options. And the show that I went to didn't go as well as it was hoped to. It didn't go that great. The show I went to, I did very, very well at that show. So it's nice to have a resource when it's all right in front of your face. Even when we talked to the new owner of King Snake, that was one of my comments, like, get that going on there again. Like, it'd be nice to be like one stop where I could see every show in the whole country.
exactly. Like that's what you guys need too. Like I'm sure when you get into, well, I guess the U.S. is all pretty heavily populated everywhere for the most part, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Like you're in Missouri, so you got a whole. Is that the Midwest still?
It's the Midwest. Yeah,
Okay.
we're considered the Midwest.
Yeah. Well, you got the whole Midwest you can go to. Plus, you're not too far from Colorado, right? And Denver, and yeah, like Arizona. That's definitely a trek. But at least you get to see. I'm guessing you're going to hang out with Alex and Brandon and all those guys down there.
Yeah, no. Ideally, I'm gonna go get with Low Key Boas. He lives over that way. I've always, again, I love the podcast I did with him. That was the first time we ever talked. Definitely one of those like standout conversations because we both just nerded out hard on boas in a real good way. So really looking forward to seeing what he's doing in the hobby right now. I was really hoping to maybe try to figure out where Rich Eiley was, maybe go visit him while I was down that way. But I know he's going to be at IHS coming up in Arizona. I still want to find a way, and I may find a way, but there's gonna be a lot of old heads at that show, and like I would love just to listen to the conversations. But we'll see if I can pull that off. Other than that, I'm gonna do a little herping down there. It's actually like a high of 107 degrees every day this week, and the nights are around 70. So there's gonna be like a 2 hour window every night where we can maybe cruise around or hike to try to find something. Um, Other than that, I don't know, man. That show's gonna take up a lot of my time, but like you said, Alex, low key, and maybe I can get lucky and see somebody else down there I'm not thinking about.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's fun. Yeah, I thought about doing IHS too, but since I bought a new house, I need to stay. I'm still getting my bearings on the local area, but like at least I live close to rattlesnakes now, which is kind of fun.
That is.
Yeah.
So where exactly are you located?
So I'm in southern Alberta, so I'm like 3 hours south of Calgary, kind of thing. I grew up in Vancouver though, so I got the whole. I was able to drive 4 hours and go look for Great Basin gophers and rubber boas and northern Pacific
Stop.
rattlesnakes. So now I get the prairie rattlesnakes and the bull snakes and hopefully some hognose at some point and horn lizards, which would be cool. But yeah, no. So I went from a rainforest to a prairie.
I like that. I like that. Yeah, made me think of something. I lost it as soon as I remembered.
Because
Yeah, man, I don't even know what
Dominic's from Ottawa, so he's on the other side of the country.
Okay, so, well, that's something. It's a weird segue. Um, so my Jewish family ran away from Russia in the early 1900s for obvious reasons, and they went to Ottawa, settled in Ottawa. I believe they became moonshiners, and then we went to Buffalo, New York, and stayed there for about ever. But yeah, I have, and even my grandmother, I think she was, man, I don't remember where in Canada she was from. It started with an S. You got a lot of S's up there?
Probably what Sarnia,
Eh.
maybe.
No,
I
not
don't know.
that cool. It's a very when you say it, it's like, oh yeah, I know that for sure, but I can't remember where. But I know her whole family was up there. She was like part Native American. Um, I used to love going to Canada, man.
Yeah,
Um, I don't know. I guess I haven't been there in a long time. Is it still cool, or is it not as cool anymore?
yeah.
I don't mean temperature.
Oh well, I don't know. Vancouver, like they didn't get snow at all this year. Of course, I moved
Oh
here.
wait, no,
I
you took that as temperature. I meant not temperature. Like
oh
I,
yeah, yeah,
I used to go
yeah.
to Toronto and like I know Toronto's changed a lot over the years. I don't know if Quebec has changed that much though.
Yeah, well, it's probably always the same there.
Yeah, probably always about the same.
I don't think we can share everything on the internet either.
That's fair. Um,
the post show
uh,
shenanigans are always fun.
yeah, I bought all my goalie equipment up in Canada at Don Simmons, so I used to go out there all the time for that. Um, Rickard's Red, man, love
Oh
Rickard's
yeah,
Red.
I love Rickards Red.
Oh yeah. That was I always went over there to get that because like I said I was in Buffalo the Peace Bridge it was like boom you're there home it's really quick. um I don't know if there's anything else I missed about you guys. That might be it. Maybe the Rickards Red.
Yeah, no. That is definitely something that's good that you don't see. You don't even see it out here too often. It's like, well, I guess I'll have to settle for the Blue Moon instead.
I do enjoy Blue Moon. If I'm gonna have a beer it's probably always a Blue Moon. We have a lot of like wheat beer places down here. Like in Buffalo there's a place I think it's called Pearl Street and they do a blueberry wheat. I don't mean to be gay, man, but I need a fruit twist in my beer or I can't drink it.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I can't afford it, so I just go for the good old Paps.
That's fair. That's fair. Well, fortunately for me, like, I'll buy a 6 pack and I got a horrible routine with it. I waste a lot of them. I'll open one while I'm cooking dinner and then I have one open while we eat dinner and then I don't finish it and I usually dump it down the sink. Good for like a beer and a half if I'm going to commit to it. I've never been able to drink a lot of beer.
Yeah. Well, I did on our holiday show, and that didn't end too well.
Yeah, well,
Stincy
I,
made a shirt
I'm
with the kokanee cans all stacked up.
Oh, I love that, man. I've always, I'll smoke a little bit when I do these episodes sometimes, and that'll go one of two ways. You don't really know until you know. But I talk about, I've always wanted to do like drunk history with some of the OGs. Like, just, it has to be a pre record and it'll never be live. But no, everyone talks about like at IHS, you get a few beers and like
Or
Rich
you're
Eiley and
you're
he's
gonna
gonna
do the
talk for
Pete
hours.
Pete Cull one again?
I don't.
No,
I
maybe
think I
not.
hate to say it. I think Pete's off limits now.
Yeah, I would say so because
I
I remember watching because he did that one with the other guy, but then I remember when he was on Smitty and Phil's Snakes and Stogies, and Tim Morris was there with him, and they were.
yeah
I watched it live, so I got to hear everything. But I think Smitty was able to kind of snip some parts after it, and he didn't get shit on at all for it. But it was because Pete went on the next one, and that didn't go well.
yeah yeah. That was the bullshit one. Yeah, that was a tough one. Like I said, everybody's got a different personality, and everyone's got different experiences with different people in the hobby. But there's also common sense, and you know, there was common sense there that just wasn't used. Um, Yeah, and there's nothing more to say. It's a bummer. Like, just certain people in the hobby are kind of off limits, and maybe sometimes it's for good reason. I do find it a little unfortunate because, there's history there. Especially boa community, a lot of early mutations went through him. I do enjoy those old stories, but, you know, probably just tell them secondhand at this point. Probably would never be able to talk with Pete about it live.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure, definitely, definitely. I think we all know why. So, no
Now,
reason to.
and like I still communicate with Pete.
Yeah,
Like I said, I've heard Pete say some very unique things over the years. I just don't really worry about it because I've seen him be very nice and very true to a lot of people, but he be saying some shit sometimes.
oh yeah, yeah. Alrighty. So, do you wanna wrap it up now?
Well, we're
Think
definitely not going to close out an episode on a Pete call conversation.
no.
You're definitely going to have to go somewhere else with this,
Yeah.
buddy.
No, that's definitely true. Uh, alrighty.
How about this? Who was the first person you brought in your podcast?
Actually, it was Dr. Justin Julander. Was the first
Oh,
guy.
I like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, no, he was
Why'd you
great.
pick Julander?
Well, me and Dom had both done like the Fight Club episode like separately with him, and I
Yeah.
don't know. Dr. J's easy to talk to. He's smart and he's good at talking. So, yeah, no, we did him. We had a bunch of good guys. Like we had Kush in the first 10, Lucas Lee in the first 10, Zach Loffman. I'm probably forgetting people. Brandon Wheel? No. Of course, now I'm forgetting people in the first 10 episodes we had when I know it. I probably look through it
No,
every
you're
day.
fine.
But yeah, no. Yeah, Doctor. Well, he's just easy to talk to, right? Like he's one of those smart guys, but doesn't make you feel stupid, and has lots of good information to say. And but it also has the herping stuff. Like I love herping too. Like yesterday, I went out and found prairie rattlesnakes and some bull snakes. That was fun to finally check out the trails around my house that weren't too far away.
That's awesome. So I used to take one really hard herping trip every spring. Now I do two a year. Typically one in April and one in May. Um, Matt Bowers, breeder down in Georgia. He used to do a lot of Burmese python stuff. He flies up now every March, and we'll drive 2 to 3 hours in between spots every night. Stay in hotels, wake up next morning, put in 10,000 to 20,000 steps, try to find as much as possible, and we did good this year, and because there was just some very cool finds. But I will say the numbers were way down this year. It's where we're gonna have to make changes next year. And this next trip I have coming up in May, I have not the slightest clue how to handle it yet, considering how hard herping was in April here. I've never had it so hard before. But we found timbers, which is always a goal. But there was a lot of other goals we didn't hit, and there was a lot of common species we never ran into. I used to have certain spots we go to that it felt like every rock could have an animal under it. And this year, man, those spots took the life out of you. nothing under any of the rocks. Some of the spots we went to were flipped already. Um, I like to do it as much as possible. I do a lot more road cruising in the summertime, especially I live in farm areas, so we'll leave the shop and take some back roads home for like 20, 30 minutes just to see if anything's crossing. You hear me talk about it. I try to plan shows around herping opportunities in certain states. I'm trying to get out to Colorado in June. I would love to find a Western hognose, man. Like, I've seen prairie rattlers out there, I've seen gophers. Would love to see a Western in the wild.
Yeah, me too. That's what I'm hoping for. Like there is apparently a spot 15 minutes kind of outside of town here, so we'll have to
Yeah.
see. So that'll be fun.
Figure it out.
Yeah, and
Do
then
you ever use iNaturalist when
oh
you're
yeah,
trying to find herping spots? Just
oh
making
yeah,
sure.
oh yeah. Like because like even if they're obscured, you can kind of like they're probably around there, right?
You could judge.
And even
Yeah.
then, it's like,
It,
well, the
it
whole area is probably okay. So like you're not gonna you're not gonna know unless you try.
yeah, no, I agree with that. I always say, man, if you got iNaturalist and you could use satellite Google Maps and read a map and find structure, you can find herping spots about anywhere, especially if you want to target a species. We did that in Houston. We've done that in so many places, man. And sometimes it works. I'm lucky enough. I know a lot of people in the hobby. So if I get the word out, I'm looking for a spot. I get a lot of spots handed to me in other states, but I never post any pictures from them. And I never give up a spot.
Yeah, for sure. I always find it's like you either take like a direct picture of the animal, you never really do too much kind of scenery kind of thing with it.
Yeah, I'll
Unless it's
fuck
like a
around with some
really obvious
scenery.
spot, but yeah, for the most part, there's not too many that you need to really do that.
No, but that's literally another thing, man. Like I'm on my phone, so I can't look at my file size right now, but I think I hit like 6,000 herping pictures in my herping file. And man, I don't think I've ever posted a single one of those fucking images. I just got them. Like I should. I've got tons of content. I just never do it some reason.
Yeah, you need to start your other YouTube channel, just Levinson Herping or something.
Something, man. And that's another cool thing. Like having Mike Schultz out by me, man. Like, that guy's always got the camera ready when I never have the camera ready. Love taking herping trips with him. Love going fishing with him. We maybe go fish. We might be going fishing tomorrow for all I know. If not tomorrow, we're gonna go on Tuesday. But he just got those meta glasses though, which kind of freaked me out a little bit. Because I'm always saying some shit. I don't know when he's recording or not recording anymore.
Yeah, no, that'd be hilarious. I think we were yeah, we were talking about how like shows and the animal rights people probably like if we said no pictures, they would just come in with meta glasses anyways. So but that was
They find a way.
exactly. Yeah, no, they've been getting some shit recently. But yeah, no, with the herping, that's actually what all the YouTubers should use now. Just put the meta glasses instead of the GoPro on the chest.
Yeah, honestly, I've thought about maybe even grabbing a set just for fun to make videos I'll never post. But I'll be happy to have them kind of thing. But here's something random, and we will wrap this up. But so that new documentary that's coming out, the guy that did Tiger King and Chimp Crazy and all that, I hate that I can't remember his name. Is it Goodwin maybe? But long story short, I'm not really freaked out about it, and you've heard us talk about this a lot. I did talk to somebody who had a lot more information about it. It does seem like it's going to be a little more focused in on like the import market and maybe mistreatment of animals through that market. And I'm hoping that's just a reflection on that part of the market and not everything else going on. Because like you said, there's a few black guys that could be in it, it sounds
Oh yeah.
like. We'll see what happens because I made the comment laws on chimpanzee keeping did not change in Missouri after Chimp Crazy.
No.
But, a lot of those laws on like, lions and tigers and all that stuff that was like, been being fought for years. Like,
Well, like most
that
like after
documentary
the
definitely.
was it after that Kentucky incident or whatever, like that kind of caused a bunch of laws all over North America to be in place
Uh,
back in '09 and that. Like BC
it-
had their big law in '09 where they banned like all the big constrictors venomous
Yeah.
and big cats and that type of thing.
Are you talking about? Was it Ohio where the guy released
Yeah,
all his
that's
animals
yeah,
after?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that
it's
that one.
Ohio. Yeah. No, that one definitely, that one definitely didn't help. But the thing is with, you know, Tiger King, nobody realized how many people had these things. Like, it's like how common they were when you would have thought they were very uncommon. I was driving to a show in Louisiana one time with Chad Halker, and the rest stop had a tiger in a cage, and this was over a decade ago. And we were like, what is this doing here? This is the craziest thing in the world. And now it's like, wow, it is not that crazy. Those things could be at every gas station if somebody wanted one there. Like, it's not like unobtainable.
Yeah, exactly. But I guess that's probably how people think of the reptile hobby too, right? Holy fuck, you guys have so many, right? Like, so maybe it's one of those things where, yeah. But it is kind
Yeah,
of messed up when you can keep a cat that can just eat you at any moment it wants to.
no, 100%. But yeah, I think it comes out in August, I want to say. I think it's HBO, I believe. Not being on Netflix is probably a benefit. It's gonna not get to as many people. If it was, I don't think it's on Netflix. I'm pretty sure it's on HBO. I'd be more afraid if it was on Netflix.
Yeah, or Prime or something that everybody has, kind of thing, right? And even then,
Yeah.
I think that Tiger King was kind of one of those like one hit wonders, and like yeah, it'll.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we won't know until it happens, right? You never know. They're probably
No, you never know.
Crutchfield's probably in it somehow, and some other guys in the hobby are probably in it. So, oh,
Crutchfield's going to be in it for sure.
is Hank Molt in it? Did they drag him out of the woodwork?
I
Because
don't
he's
know for
alive.
sure on him.
He's alive still.
Yeah. Uh, I believe there may have been something where there was a get together where a lot of old heads were all there at the same time and like a little party kind of get together. And I believe that's going to be in there. I won't go into too many details. I don't want to talk too much about it. But yeah, no, I don't know every name that's going to be in it, but I do know that it's probably going to reflect badly on the import market.
Yeah, yeah. Even oh yeah, yeah. And then there's that venomous guy too, that dumbass. But I'm hopefully
Uh,
he's. I don't even know what that would do to it. It's just like fucking dumbass that got bit by the taipan. But like, wasn't there the rumor that he got paid for that footage or something? Or maybe that's for something totally different. Maybe he's making a second one
Man,
just for venomous keeping.
yeah, it may have been because I do remember him online talking about that.
But
Like
he's
I
also.
think after,
But maybe he's just fucking pulling some
yeah,
tail there or something. I don't know.
yeah, he could be just getting views. I don't know, man. I don't know his personality enough, and I've honestly never really watched his stuff. Of course, I did hear about that, and people that pay more attention to him told me more about it, but he was never really in my algorithm. So
Hmm.
I never really got to see what he was doing that whole time. I just, I always say, I just think, it's such a liability to make someone believe they can do something that's just not that easy. And, I'm really surprised there's not more incidents of people getting bit by venomous trying to recreate something they saw online. Those days could come up, but, fortunately, there's a lot of regulations in a lot of states that make it hard for people to get that kind of stuff. And also, it seems like that community really does look out for themselves. If something bad happens, it seems like the community will get together and fix the problem really, really fast. Um,
Yeah.
but no, like I said, I just think it's tough to. It's not the best influence. It's cool to see. I've done dumb shit when I was younger. I talk about it, but it's such a liability for the hobby.
Yeah. Yeah. Anti venomins for pussies.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, when I got bit
Uh,
by a copperhead, man, I was so ashamed to even make that mistake, and it was just such a harmless mistake that, like, really, it wasn't even a mistake. It just kind of happened. Um, but I felt really stupid afterwards, like
oh yeah.
genuinely stupid. And literally, it was in the leaf litter next to me, and I just didn't notice it. Um, and man, I don't even think I touched the fucking thing, and it jumped out and got me.
Oh.
Um,
Oh,
but Timber.
Lisa's in the comments. Uh, she looked it up. Netflix has 89 million subscribers, while HBO has 57 million in the US.
But still a lot. Still a very respectable number. I just think it's going to be less exposure. Like I said, I hear those numbers. I feel like everyone I know has Netflix, where most people I know do not have HBO.
Or if they have HBO, they have it to watch like a couple things, maybe, right? Like I don't. I feel like like some of those ones, people will go to look for something rather than browse it, right? You know, like Netflix and Amazon are kind of things you might browse because they're the
Yeah,
cheaper ones, kind of thing, and then the rest you kind of buy to watch that one show that's on there. That's my
thousand
opinion.
percent.
Yeah.
I think William Philippek was nice enough to give me his for House of Dragons. Um, but then he stopped paying his bill, so I don't have HBO anymore.
Nice job, William.
Yeah.
Are you gonna watch the show or no? Because you don't have. Oh yeah, well you just answered it.
I'll find a way. I'll find a way to watch it. I'm in the hobby, man. I've got to watch this thing. But you know, am I gonna watch it 4 times like I watched Tiger King? I'm not sure.
Did we all watch it like 4 or 5 times just to? Although it was
Well,
never as funny as the first time.
if you wait long enough in between, man, you can relive those moments and still like it. But I think the main thing was everybody who watched that show watched it in one sitting. Like nobody watched an episode and stopped. Like everybody stayed up to 3 o'clock in the morning watching every one of those episodes.
Oh yeah, no, it was must watch.
Yeah, no, great. I still follow Free Joe sites on Facebook. They're still making memes. He's posting prison pictures, man. He's still out there doing his, well, not out there doing his thing, but it's really unfortunate, man. A personality like that finally found relevance, but was already in jail to really appreciate it.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, I think Stintsy just got back from me. They're somehow still out eating for dinner after the show.
That's fair.
Yeah, no.
Well, must have been a good show.
Yeah. Yeah, well, hopefully. I don't know. It sounded like it was all right. You like we had it was 2.5 years ago, maybe only two. It was fucking balls to the wall the whole weekend. Like Saturday never slowed down, and Sunday was busy until like an hour or two before. Like it was like most shows. It's like I don't know. Like it's busy the first most of the show, and then it kind of slows down an hour or two by the end of the day, and then Sundays like kind of sometimes meh, right? Like you get people to come in, right? But then
Yeah. You make most of your money on Saturdays. If you do half of what you made on Saturday on Sunday, I consider that a good day. I have shows where I'll do $2,000 to $5,000 on a Saturday, and then $200 to $500 on a Sunday. Like if Saturday goes bad, I usually don't have a whole lot of faith for Sunday.
yeah, I find yeah for the most part I think that's yeah right like that's usually how it goes, and then yeah I think like but then if you're doing feeders and stuff, right, that seems to go more on Sunday almost, although the last show we had it didn't happen like that, where feeders weren't really they were going, but then it was actually animals moving the whole weekend somehow. Like it was just weird. I guess every
Oh,
show is different too, right? Like even the same shows where you can kind of predict what might happen, you never know, right? Like this time of year, like it's lower, kind of lower end stuff moving easily, especially. But then you still have your normal like leopard geckos are going. Like you always have the people wanting leopard geckos, corn snakes. Like you just have a good variety of corn snakes on the table from 200 to normals at like $80, and they all move just fine. And then
yep.
and then you have the variety of random pythons and bigger colubrids and other stuff where it just seems like, oh wow, we sold four carpets and a black milk and some Mexican blacks, right? Like just that random stuff seems to go kind of thing, instead of
Yep.
before where it was like, wow, we sold like 8 tortoises today. Like it was just like people wanted tortoises. All right, I remember having a few really good BC shows like that with Ty, where stuff was like it was weird, where it was like leopard geckos, tortoises, and then a few other things. But it was like those main things were going. It's just kind of funny. It's like you write down your notes, so you definitely see how like what moves kind of where.
Yep. And there's things like you said will always sell, and then there's some shows that Woma Pythons. Like I had 5 Woma Pythons that I took to like 6 shows, and nobody was really showing interest. And then my 7th show in like Arkansas, I sold 4 out of the 5 to 4 different customers. Made no sense. Just they were really into that species down there, and I just didn't think Little Rock, Arkansas was going to want Woma pythons.
Yep.
But it'd be like that sometimes, man. Like, you try to read the room, but, it's random.
Yeah, no, it's always cool. Yeah, it's you get those weird shows where it's like, holy fuck, I've been sitting on these for 6 months, and now all of them go at the same show. Yeah, I guess we should
Yep.
probably
And
wrap it up. I think this has been the
yep.
longest podcast we've done. So you beat William and the Christmas show, where
All right.
we
I
had the
like that.
Gregans and Stincy on there. So that was all good. You should get those
Cool.
guys on.
Cool.
You need to get those guys on for a fun episode with Chris and Greg. You'd have a good time with them.
I've always thought about it.
They'll do it.
Now that I'm down to like 1 episode a month, 2 episodes a month, like, I never know what the fuck I'm going to do. But no, I got to hit him up. I've been sending him messages ever since we hung out at the bar at Pomona a few years ago. And, I just remember us laughing our ass off the entire time. And I think the time before that is when those 2 YouTubers were like fighting each other when there was only like 6 of us still awake at that night.
Yeah, they called that, and then the U.S. ARC lady came out and was like, "You need to break this up." But then Chris and Greg were like, "We're just supervising." This is
But
hilarious.
no, I had a blast with those guys. Like I said, I just happened to be at the table next to them, and once we started exchanging, man, like we were talking for hours. I had a great time.
Oh yeah, no. Every show weekend, I'm usually up with them till 2-3 in the morning.
That's awesome. It's
Oh
nice
yeah,
to have that click.
exactly. Alrighty, Do you want to share all your information on how people can get a hold of you?
Yeah, come check us out on Morph Market. We have our store on there under custom scales. You can find custom scales on Instagram and Facebook, but you will be very disappointed. And other than that, all my information's on there. If you ever want to reach out, hit me up on Facebook. I'll get back to you.
Awesome. Alrighty, you can reach out to Reptile Rejects on Instagram at Reptile Rejects, or follow us and subscribe on YouTube at Reptile Rejects. Follow Dom at Dom's Reptiles on Instagram. Also, Dominic. Yeah, I'm not gonna say his last name. I see it, but then every time I say it, he says I say it wrong. So I'm not gonna try to speak French.
Yeah, can't do it. You can't do it, man. Don't butcher it.
Exactly. Yeah, and then if you then also follow our sponsors, cornellsworld.com and wcre.ca, and yeah, go check them out. And yeah, I think that was a fantastic show going all over the place. I hope you guys like the change up. Next weekend we're gonna have Connor Wardle on to talk cool oddball colubrids, so that should be fun. Alrighty, do you just want to hang out, Dave? Make sure the upload's good, and yeah, close it out. Everybody, have a great evening, and see you next time. Sweet.